Hey guys! So in previous videos I've mentioned that when I was on my trip, the solar panels were not putting a charge into my batteries for some reason. And when I got back, Kevin took a look at it. I had looked at it on the trip and couldn't figure out why. I suspected it was a connection or a fuse or something like that. But Kevin looked at it when he got back because he was able to actually take the solar panel off and get to those connections to really look at them. And we discovered that's what it was. It was just a connection. And so then he went through and he made those connections more accessible to me. And so he did a little video clip on what he did and what the issue was. So I'll show you guys that.
So Cindy made it back from her trip, and she probably mentioned in one of her videos that her solar had stopped working, and she was pretty sure that it was a connection up here on the top of the van. That's where I'm at right now. Came loose. She came up here, she was able to climb up the ladder and kind of look, but she couldn't really see anything, mainly because the connection was actually underneath the solar panel and very hard to get to. She wouldn't have been able to do it without any kind of tools, which made me realize that we need to do something better with how the wiring is situated up here so it's more accessible. If something like that happens again, she can come up here and make the connection or fix whatever might be the issue causing her solar not to work. I'll kind of show you what happened. Alright, so this right here is the old connection, and all these connections were up underneath this solar panel right here, and we weren't able to get to them. I actually had to kind of remove this panel and this board to get the wires out from underneath the solar panel so I could figure out what was going on. But this old connection right here, you can see that the tabs don't even connect in. It just pulls out so easy. And just through the vibration and everything, I would imagine it just finally worked itself loose. And it was just sitting under there disconnected. Now we got a new one, and this one you can actually hear it click when it goes in, and it's nice and solid. It's not going to come apart. Taking this board off, loosening those connections, and figuring out a better way of having this connection so it's like out here in the open and accessible. One of the problems was when you're going down the road, this thing will sit and vibrate and you can actually hear it inside the van. So that's one of the main reasons why we were trying to get these tied down and not moving. But like I said, it worked itself loose, and she wasn't able to have solar, and she wasn't able to get up here and have the tools to get it out from underneath the solar and make the connection again. But anyway, everything's working perfect now again with this new connection. And like I said, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time and see if I can figure out a way to get these tied down a little bit better and have them accessible. So if something happens again, she can climb up here and diagnose it and basically fix it herself. So I think I have a little bit of a game plan. I'm gonna drill a small hole in this aluminum right here that a zip tie can go through, and zip tie these connections next to this panel, these connections next to that panel, and so forth. So each one will get each one of these connections. Horrible camera work here. each one of these connections will get zip tied basically in the open next to the panel that they go to. And then the main connection is going to have to be here in the open. I can't do much more than that because I'm limited to the amount of wire that I left myself going into the van. You know, it's just some of the things you learn as you go. I wish I would have left a little more wire out here. Would have gave me some more flexibility, but I don't have it, so it's going to have to be in this area here. And then that way all the connections will be accessible if we need to get to them and replace them or fix them or do anything to them if they come loose or the solar needs some work or whatever. And then I'll put the board back on and button everything up, and that'll be it. I'm going to take a board and put it underneath the panel, so when I drill the hole I don't go through the roof. Definitely don't want to do that. That's kind of what I came up with. It's not the best solution, but it's about all I can do with the way we have it, you know, set up originally. But I think it'll work. So what I've got now is each solar panel connection is in the open, so if we ever have to get to it or check it to see how they are, we can easily climb up and look at them. They're zip tied in place. Hopefully they won't rattle around too much. Same thing on that side. And then right there is the main connection, accessible. Would have been nice to be able to have it to where it was over here somewhere, accessible, but the way we have the wiring run is just not going to allow us to do that. I did take an opportunity to try to scrub it up a little bit, clean up all the dirt that was up here. But now I just need to put the board back on, and everything should be good. So that's it, the board's back in. Got the connections all exposed so we can inspect them easy if anything happens to them or if they need to be repaired. The main connections right there, we can snip a zip tie and take it apart and put a new fuse in there if we need to, or you know, whatever needs to be done. I think it's just going to be a better situation. If nothing else, you can climb up here and inspect them, make sure that everything looks good.
Also, while I was on my trip, I had trouble with these drawers coming open. Just the big drawer and this slide out pantry here. This one here, at one point it opened up so much and so hard that these spice jars actually broke. And so we have got to figure that out. And I think that what he's gonna do is just put a pin going from inside this cabinet through here and into the back side of this, which will, I can just put the pin in when I'm going to be driving, and it'll keep this from opening. This big drawer here also kept coming open, and you can see here, this actually happened when I got back, but it probably wore out each time it came open on my trip, because it would slam out pretty hard, and this broke. The bearings came out here, and we're gonna have to replace that drawer slide and then figure out how to make this magnet a little bit stronger. I think we can just adjust it. It seems like it's a little weaker than when we first put it in, and so we can do that and see if that helps it. The only other cabinet I had trouble with was this one coming out, which we can still put a pin in it the same way we are going to do with the one down below, but then it'll show on this side because we can't really put it back to the back because there's a hollow space back there. It wouldn't actually go through to the slide itself, so it would have to go like right here, and that wouldn't look so bad, but it's not too big of an issue. But if it becomes an issue, I'll do that. I'm sure with each trip I take, I'm probably going to have other little things I have to work out in between each one or on the road. Eventually I'll get everything functioning well. This next trip is going to be quite a bit longer, and I'm going to be out of my element a little more. It's new territory.
So on the opposite side of this is the shelf where the spices sit. And the plan is to try to drill the hole into that 1/2 inch shelf. And you can see where my line is, and above that's the shelf. So the pin will get drilled in somewhere there, so it lines up into the shelf. We'll make some measurements and transfer the measurements over to this side of the cabinet, and then drill the hole through the cabinet. Alright, so I got the hole in the drawer, and now I need to figure out how to accurately transfer it over to the inside of this cabinet so I can drill the hole through there and get it all to line up. So I have a 90-degree square that I'm going to line up with the height of the hole that's in the cabinet. And I'm going to hold this here and try to get this drawer back out without moving the square. I might have to get Cindy's help. And then scribe a line on there, and that'll be my height. And then I'll just have to take some measurements as to where I need to drill the hole through from the inside then. Okay, so I measured and made my mark, hopefully in the correct location. But my drill doesn't fit in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a screw through, which will poke through this other side here and mark, that'll mark my hole, and then I can get my drill in there, and that'll be where it goes. The key is trying to make sure, and hopefully I've got it straight, is this thing to be as, you know, going in straight as possible, not up or down a little bit or left and right a little bit, and hopefully I'm doing that. Alright, so I got the hole drilled in there. The pin fits through fine. My drill didn't fit in either one of these cabinets. So what I ended up having to do was actually drill it by hand. And I got this little T-handle thing here that clamps onto the drill bit, and I just had to twist it around, but I had to work, you know, from smaller to bigger until I finally got the hole big enough for the pin to fit through. So I didn't show any of that on video because it took a little while. But one thing I noticed is when I did my measurements, the height and everything worked out perfect. But I zigged when I should have zagged. And when I poked through to make a mark on here to see how it fit, this is where it went. But that's an easy fix. I just have to drill the hole in a different spot, and then I can plug that hole if we want to. It won't be an issue. Fortunately, it's far enough away that they're not going to interfere with each other structurally, so I think it'll be fine. Alright, so I got the new hole drilled. The old one I filled with glue and sawdust, so structurally I think that's going to be good and strong. It's not going to create any kind of issue or anything. And I'm going to go clean the sawdust and everything out of the van, out of the cabinet area, and then put the drawer back in, and hopefully the pin lines up and everything works. So the pin slides right in, luckily, and yeah, I don't think that's going to come open on her anymore. Comes out easy, goes back in easy, holding tight. So hopefully that'll solve the problem of this coming open while she's driving.
So I have just been cleaning and trying to get everything in here ready and organized again for the next leg of my trip. It was a mess in here when I got back. I'm gonna get everything a little more functional, work out some kinks, and you'll see that probably in an upcoming video right before I head out. So I'm excited. Next week Kevin is going to be installing a DC to DC charge controller. What that'll do is allow the solar to keep the starter battery topped off. So when the van's sitting for long periods, it won't run the starter battery down. Also, it'll keep the house batteries charged when I'm going down the road using the alternator, and it will also not overcharge the house batteries. With the solenoid, I was always worried that I would actually end up putting too much charge onto the house batteries if I didn't, keep a close eye on it. So I'm still learning a little bit about that, and Kevin's going to explain more about it when he installs it. And it's funny, when Kevin explains these things on video, I'm kind of learning with you guys. So yeah, he's going to talk about that when he installs it. We're going to do that, and there's a couple more projects, and that's what you'll be seeing in the next couple videos. Also, we got the side panel for the van. In one of the early videos on my recent trip, I talked about, I think it was like the second campground I was on my way to. It's right at the beginning of the trip. A deer hit the side of the van and knocked that panel off of it. I wasn't able to recover it, so it wasn't easy to get. It's been on back order for a while because Kevin immediately, when I told him about it, started looking for it. And we finally did get it, and we're gonna get it installed. Hopefully it'll be easy to install. It looks like it will be. So you get to see that. The van should be back to the way it was. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up if you did. And I will see you next time.